All right, well, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us here today and for taking time out of your busy work schedule. I hope that you find today's presentation relevant and valuable to what we're doing here within the Green Parking Council. This presentation is born out of a number of conversations surrounding the concept of sustainability and an awareness that there's a risk and actually a growing perception that the word sustainable is merely a buzzword devoid of any real meaning. So as I got further into the development of this presentation, I realized that this sort of discussion within our committee was actually probably overdue. For the conclusion of the presentation, I welcome any and all input into how we might include some of these historical and contemporary views of sustainability into the work we're doing within the Sustainable Technology Committee and within the Green Parking Council as a whole. So without further ado, start with the Brundtland Commission. If you look around the web and even within sustainability documents developed by Green Parking Council membership, you'll quickly come across this definition of sustainability developed by United Nations Brundtland Commission, which was published in 1987 under the title of Our Common Future. The Brundtland Commission defines sustainable development as the kind of development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Sounds agreeable enough. And from this definition, the notion of sustainable development has in many circles come to define sustainability itself. William McDonough, most famous for popularizing the cradle-to-cradle design concept, has said that the Brundtland Commission's definition is intentionally weak, designed to gain the most chance of acceptance. Commission's report, he says, it says to at least make it possible so that the future will have a choice. If humans somewhere down the line decide that the Earth is not worth saving, then so be it. The editors over on the Wikipedia article on the subject say much the same thing, citing the ambiguity and openness to interpretation of the Commission's report. And because of this, it has gained widespread support for a diverse set of groups and organizations worldwide. World Bank economist Herman Daly has suggested the Brundtland Commission's definition might actually be counterproductive, since it implies that development needs to be continuous and steady instead of requiring any leveling off to meet a planet-wide carrying capacity. So he has added these three principles to make sense in economic terms. For Daly, sustainable systems must, 1, harvest renewable resources only at the speed at which they regenerate. Only cut trees at the rate they can grow back, only fish at the rate that fish will spawn. 2, limit waste to the assimilative capacity of local ecosystems. Only dump that which the local ecosystem can absorb and process naturally. 3, direct profits from the use of non-renewables towards developing suitable renewable substitutes. So this definition puts us a little bit closer to the type of closed-loop practices that we're beginning to see in some of the more innovative sectors of industry, which we'll come back to later. I'd like to take a step back in time just a little bit, if we could, to take a look at some of the other roots of sustainability. Much of what has been defined as sustainability over the years owes its roots to Gifford Pinchot, who was a student of German forestry and was the first U.S. Forest Service chief. In the late 1890s and early 1900s, he spoke of sustained yield long before there was talk of anything resembling a sustainability movement. As he introduced scientific management techniques to America, he spoke of the widely held belief at the time that our forests were inexhaustible and that wasting timber was considered somewhat of a virtue. Pinchot was key in establishing the U.S. Forest Service, and as such established it as an agency responsible for managing the nation's timber resources for the greatest good, for the greatest number, over the longest time. It sounds vaguely familiar after seeing the Brundtland Commission's definition. Pinchot has received criticism over the years from environmental preservationists, and most notably from his contemporary and founder of the Sierra Club, John Muir, for continuing a sort of mankind-dominating nature set of policies, in which nature is viewed as just a set of resources to be consumed. His philosophy is utilitarian at its core, and it says nothing of the spiritual or psychic value of a pristine wilderness. For Pinchot, the natural world is to be used and utilized for the advancement of humanity, but managed wisely so that others may benefit for generations to come. In the 60s, the environment began to move again to the forefront of public consciousness with the publication of books like Rachel Carson's Silent Spring and Paul Ehrlich's The Population Bomb. Ehrlich, a Stanford University professor, has had much to say on sustainability, the environment, and human population rates, and the rates at which humans consume their surrounding natural world. Working together with his wife Anne, Ehrlich has contributed this equation to the conversation. Environmental impact is a function of population, affluence, and technology. As any one of these inputs increases, the health of the environment is impacted in a negative way. In many ways, Ehrlich's species are a revisitation of 18th century philosopher Thomas Malthus, who argued that since population increases geometrically, the food supply only increases arithmetically, we are all doomed to a world of increasing poverty and starvation as population grows. It is this assertion that helped earn the then young science of economics a reputation as the dismal science. And there is some merit to that. First law of thermodynamics tells us that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only be converted from one form to another. Chemical energy can convert to thermal energy. Potential energy can be converted to kinetic. But within any closed system, the law of conservation of energy applies. You can't get something from nothing. The second law of thermodynamics tells us that all systems move towards entropy, or higher levels of disorder. Only life reverses this process as we, living creatures, move towards higher levels of order and complexity. Now, I know it may seem a little bit off topic to segue into the universal laws of physics, but as you dig deeper into the world of sustainability, you're bound to run into these definitions again and again. And after all, what we're talking about here are the physical limits of our planet and the systems that support it. The natural world demonstrates the laws of thermodynamics repeatedly in its natural cycles. Energy, matter, nutrients, and chemicals are constantly recycled. We see in the water cycle as water evaporates and condensates through fields, streams, and occasionally humans. Again, in the nitrogen cycle, the oxygen cycle, phosphorus cycle, and of increasing concern in our fossil fuel-powered world, the carbon cycle. In nature, there is no waste. Leaves fall from trees and decompose on the forest floor. Compost becomes nutrient-rich soil, enabling new life to take hold, and the cycle of life continues. Waste equals food. Which brings us back to the concept of cradle to cradle. Like nature, the move towards sustainability in industry has been manifested as a move away from the historical linear process of industrial manufacturing, what entrepreneur Paul Hawkins has described as our take, make, waste model of industry. In the move towards cyclical industrial processes, luminaries like Hawkins and McDonough have espoused and implemented closed-loop practices as a means of making industry sustainable and environmentally responsible. So how do we measure sustainability? At the macroeconomic level, several alternatives to the GDP have been proposed, including Genuine Progress Indicator and the Index of Sustainable Welfare. At the corporate level, one measure that has become increasingly common is that of triple bottom line accounting, also known as full cost accounting, or colloquially as people, planet, profit. TBL accounting drives home not only the importance of fiduciary and environmental responsibility, but also underscores the importance of corporate social responsibility. And this is an area where the Green Parking Council has addressed in its certification process through the Parking as Placemaking category, which awards points for engaging with the local community. The triple bottom line has made its way into many an annual report, including the likes of Shell and DuPont. But some companies have gone above and beyond even TBL and have woven sustainability into the fiber of their corporate identity. In 1973, Ray Anderson was looking to create a niche within the market of office space carpeting. He founded Interface Carpeting, targeting what he saw as the emerging high-tech office of the future, and offered a new concept in carpeting, that of the carpet tile. Rather than selling broad loom sheets for traditional wall-to-wall installations, he introduced this new concept to the marketplace that can be installed in a more modular and adaptable fashion. Over the next 2 decades, Anderson built his company from a single plant in Georgia to a billion-dollar company with a global presence. By all measures, he had become an incredible success, but his company was very far from being anything but sustainable. So in the mid-90s, after a customer asked Anderson what his company was doing to the environment, Anderson picked up a copy of Paul Hawkins' book, The Ecology of Commerce. And it turned out to be somewhat of a road to Damascus moment for Anderson, or as he put it, it was like a spear to my chest. He realized that his company really hadn't been doing anything for the environment, and though they were 100% in compliance with the existing environmental regulations at the time, his company was in fact a big part of the problem. In the Ecology of Commerce, Hawkins argues that business and industry have been the primary cause of environmental decay and the decline of Earth's life support systems. However, business is also the only institution large enough, powerful enough, and pervasive enough to lead humanity out of the mess that we've gotten ourselves into. And in his book, he begins to lay out an outline of the steps that a company might take. Anderson took Hawkins' message to heart and began establishing a series of targets to put his company on a path towards what he calls Mission Zero, with the goal of being 100% resource neutral by the year 2020. He described this journey as a climb up Mount Sustainability. Mount Sustainability was envisioned as a mountain with 7 faces. 1, eliminate waste. 2, eliminate harmful emissions, slowly working our way up the supply chain. 3, move towards 100% renewable energy. 4, create closed-loop processes. 5, resource-efficient transportation from commuting to logistics to plant siting. 6, integrate sustainability into our corporate culture. 7, pioneer new business models of sustainability through both practices and new technologies. Anderson spread the gospel of sustainability throughout his company with evangelical fervor, shutting down smokestacks, finding efficiencies, and instilling a sense of corporate responsibility in his employees. And the numbers are compelling. From 1996 to 2009, net greenhouse gas emissions for Interface were down 82% in absolute tonnage. In that same time, sales increased by 2/3 and profits doubled, turning out to have the old argument that environmental responsibility and profitability are at odds. In an industry that turns out product that is so petroleum intensive it can essentially be considered an extension of the fossil fuel industry, Interface cut fossil fuel usage by 60% per unit of production. Water usage went down by 75%, and by Ray Anderson's figures, overall costs went down some $400 million through improved efficiencies. In 2005, Walmart began its own aggressive initiative to address environmental concerns, documented in the recent book, Force of Nature. By taking steps as simple as removing unnecessary light bulbs in employee vending machines and reducing wasteful packaging, introducing new green technologies like auxiliary power units for their long-haul truckers to reduce engine idling time. Walmart found that not only were they having a significant impact on their global CO2 footprint, but they were also finding enormous cost savings. Overall, the company reports that their sustainability initiatives have saved them upwards of $500 million a year, which only reinforces the move towards sustainability. Other companies are implementing broad-reaching sustainability initiatives as well, including Xerox, 3M, P&G, IKEA, and many more. One of my favorite examples is UPS, which a few years ago implemented a no left turn policy to decrease idling time for trucks, and has invested in GPS mapping software to map out no left turn routes for their drivers. As you can see, a key strategy for combining waste reductions with profitability has been focusing on technological and process efficiencies, which reminds us again that sustainability and profitability can go hand in hand. In fact, one might say that the mission of business, as well as the advancement of technology, has always been driven by the search for greater efficiencies. Sustainable technologies provide the opportunity to, 1, find profit niches through greater efficiencies of operation, and 2, differentiate yourself from the competition. There's plenty of low-hanging fruit out there in carving out inefficiencies. Shortly before he passed away a few years ago, Ray Anderson gave a speech that's still available at TED.com. In this speech, he revisited Paul Ehrlich's famous environmental impact equation and noted what a number of more optimistic economists have observed over the years, that technology is not always a negative in the equation. That while the first industrial revolution gave us trains and factories that belched soot and smog, The second industrial revolution has given us a new framework for technology with an emphasis on infotech and efficiencies. The restorative technologies of the new era can in fact reduce our impact on the environment. Our task within the Sustainable Technologies Committee is to identify and encourage those types of technologies in the parking environment. And as you can see in our industry examples, we're in good company. From automated payment systems designed to reduce engine idling time, to wayfinding systems that get commuters into their parking spaces more quickly, energy efficient lighting, integrated renewables, and new innovative concepts as well. Our Green Parking Products Database will serve as a clearinghouse for our membership seeking technologies and products that will help them go green in their garages. Sort of full earth catalogs for parking, Products Database will provide additional value to our membership as well as drive traffic to the Green Parking Council webpage. Through the Products Database, we can encourage the types of technologies that promote efficiency, clean and renewable energy, healthy work environments, and the sort of cyclical processes that are key to creating a sustainable planet. As transportation adapts to a world where carbon emissions come under increasing scrutiny, it is important that we recognize parking as a critical component in the transportation infrastructure. I welcome you all to join the conversation as we move towards the common vision of making parking a truly sustainable enterprise. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jonas.
Yes. Thank you all. Since I've got this on full view, I'm not sure, I actually can't view if any questions came in. Gretchen, maybe you can let me know if there were any questions that came in during the presentation.
I don't see any that came in during the presentation. Does anyone have any questions for Jonas?
No, well, this is Frank. All I can say is after this presentation, I feel the weight of the world upon my shoulders.
Hey. Don't feel weighed down, feel enlightened. I think there's a lot of opportunity.
Oh yeah, you know I'm teasing.
Yeah. And I know that you know the opportunities out there.
Oh, I sure do.
Well, again, this started with some conversations about the nature of sustainability, and it is kind of an area that I guess it's a word that's been getting thrown around quite a lot, and there is kind of a fatigue with the idea. Hopefully we've established something a little bit deeper and more meaningful, and we can use it in the work that we're doing.
Jonas, this is Dan. That was a good pitch. I like that. This mission statement, is this something that we publish and post?
This mission statement is something that was developed early last year. It went through a few different iterations, and currently we have it published, I believe, only internally within. It's posted on the Basecamp website, so it's accessible to everybody that's within the Green Parking Council.
But are there plans to go public with it, announce it publicly, what have you?
That's something worth discussing. That would probably be worthwhile. It's something that I wanted to make sure that we had developed early in the lifespan of our committee to help guide us internally. But I don't see any reason not to publish it.
So do we? I'm thinking this doesn't cover the triple bottom line in a way that's kind of clear for the public if we publish it. I don't know if it's still being reviewed or being refined?
Actually, that's a very good point.
The mission statement or the presentation overall?
No, the mission statement. The presentation definitely covered it, and I wonder if we want to have a bullet point about triple bottom line here. Well, I don't know who's developing the mission statement or who's responsible for it. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, it was the mission statement was something that was kind of developed as a collaborative effort, and I actually don't think that that triple bottom line was a part of the conversation at the time, or was a part of more offline conversations, I guess.
But are you open to developing language to that point?
You bet. I definitely am. I think Paul will be distressed to find out that we're discussing reworking the mission statement again, because I think we went through a number of iterations, but I think it's a worthwhile point to include.
Well, mission statements are intended to be ever evolving, so.
Yep, and which is why we've even thrown that last point in, that our work will be ongoing and evolutionary, understanding that new technologies and new techniques will be